In the bustling heart of the medieval Islamic world, a figure emerged whose life and words would echo through the centuries. A man whose spiritual ecstasy and controversial pronouncements would lead him to both sainthood and martyrdom. This is the story of Al-Hallaj, the mystic who dared to proclaim, "I am the truth." Born around 858 AD in the province of Fars, in what is now modern-day Iran, Husayn ibn Mansur al-Hallaj grew up in a world rich with intellectual and spiritual fervor. His father was a cotton carder, a humble profession from which Husayn would later derive his famous name Al-Hallaj, meaning the cotton carder. But from a young age, it was clear that Husayn's path would not be one of manual labor. He was drawn to the spiritual life, memorizing the Quran by the age of 12 and seeking out the great Sufi masters of his time. His spiritual journey began in earnest when he became a disciple of Sahl al-Tustari, a renowned Sufi scholar in Iraq. Under Sahl's guidance, Hallaj delved deep into the practices of asceticism, meditation, and the inner meanings of the Quran. He was a passionate and intense student, driven by a burning desire for union with the divine. After 2 years, Hallaj moved to Basra, a major center of learning, and married the daughter of another Sufi master, Abu Yaqub al-Aqda. Here, he continued his studies with Amr al-Makki. However, Hallaj's unique spiritual experiences and his increasingly public expressions of them began to create friction. Traditional Sufism at the time often emphasized sobriety and discretion, a drunkenness of the soul kept private. Hallaj, however, belonged to the school of intoxicated Sufism, where the overwhelming experience of divine love could not be contained. He felt a calling to share his spiritual insights with the common people, not just a select group of mystics. This was a radical idea. He traveled extensively, making 3 long pilgrimages to Mecca and journeying as far as India and Central Asia. He wasn't just a quiet mystic. He was a preacher, a poet, and a spiritual guide to the masses. He spoke in the marketplaces, in the mosques, and to anyone who would listen, using simple language to convey profound spiritual truths. He taught that the ultimate goal of the soul was to annihilate its own ego and find its true identity in God. His teachings were electrifying, and he gained a large following. But they also attracted suspicion and hostility from the religious and political authorities in Baghdad, the capital of the Abbasid Caliphate. His message was seen as a threat to the established order. The core of the controversy lay in his ecstatic utterances, known as shafiat. These were paradoxical, seemingly blasphemous statements made in a state of spiritual intoxication. The most famous of these, the one that would seal his fate, was Ana al-Ḥaqq, which translates to I am the truth. In the context of Islamic theology, al-Ḥaqq is one of the 99 names of God. To the orthodox scholars, or ulama, this sounded like a claim to divinity, the ultimate blasphemy. For Hallaj and his supporters, however, it was not a personal claim. It was the ultimate expression of fana, the annihilation of the self in God. In that moment of mystical union, it was not Husayn the man who was speaking, but God speaking through him. The I of the ego had been completely erased, leaving only the divine reality. Hallaj tried to explain his experience. He wrote books and poems, engaging in theological debates to clarify his position. He argued that his statement was no different from the burning bush, speaking to Moses, saying, "I am God." It was a manifestation of the divine, not a personal declaration of godhood. He wrote, "Your spirit is mingled with my spirit, just as wine is mingled with pure water. When something touches you, it touches me. So in every case, you are I." But in the politically charged atmosphere of 10th century Baghdad, nuance was lost. The Abbasid Caliphate was facing internal strife and external threats. The authorities were wary of any popular figure who could potentially stir up social unrest. Hallaj's popularity, combined with his seemingly heretical statements, made him a dangerous figure. His enemies, a coalition of conservative theologians, and powerful court officials began to build a case against him. They accused him not only of blasphemy, but also of being a political agitator, a charlatan, and a magician. After a long period of investigation and imprisonment, a trial was convened. The trial of Al-Hallaj was a landmark event. It was a clash between two worldviews, the legalistic, external interpretation of religion versus the personal, internal experience of the mystic. Hallaj defended himself eloquently, but the political tide was against him. He was found guilty. His final days in prison were marked by a profound sense of peace and acceptance. He spent his time in prayer, in conversation with his disciples, forgiving those who had condemned him. He understood his fate as the ultimate test of his love for God. On March 26, 922, Al-Hallaj was brought to a public square in Baghdad. The sentence was brutal, designed to be a terrifying spectacle to deter any would-be imitators. He faced his execution with incredible courage and dignity. According to the accounts of those who witnessed it, as he was led to his end, he smiled and recited poetry. One story tells of a fellow Sufi, Shibli, asking him, "What is Sufism, Hallaj?" He replied, "You see its lowest degree today." Shibli then asked, "And what is its highest degree?" Hallaj answered, "You cannot reach it, but tomorrow you shall see what I mean." Even on the scaffold, his concern was for others. He prayed, "O God, these thy servants who are gathered to slay me, in zeal for thy religion and in desire to win thy favor, forgive them. For if thou hadst revealed to them what thou hast revealed to me, they would not have done what they have done. And if thou hadst hidden from me what thou hast hidden from them, I should not have suffered this tribulation." After his execution, his body was dismembered, and his ashes were scattered in the Tigris River. The authorities hoped to erase his memory completely, but they failed. The very next day, as he had predicted, the Tigris River overflowed its banks, which his followers interpreted as the world itself weeping for him, and a sign of his spiritual power even after death. His martyrdom transformed him from a controversial preacher into one of the most revered saints in Islamic mysticism. The life and death of Al-Hallaj became a powerful symbol for Sufis throughout the centuries. He represents the ultimate lover of God, willing to sacrifice everything, including his life, for the sake of that love. His cry of Aina al-Ḥaqq was reinterpreted not as heresy, but as the pinnacle of spiritual realization. Poets like Rumi and Adder would write about him, celebrating his courage and his profound love for the divine. His story forces us to ask difficult questions. Where is the line between religious experience and blasphemy? How should a society deal with those whose spiritual insights challenge the established order? And what is the true nature of the self and its relationship with the divine? Al-Hallaj's journey from a cotton carter's son to a martyred saint is a testament to the power of unwavering faith and the courage to speak one's truth, no matter the cost. He was a man who lived and died for love, a love so vast it dissolved the boundaries between himself and the beloved. His legacy is not just a story of persecution, but a timeless invitation to explore the deepest mysteries of the human heart and its eternal quest for the truth. If you found this story compelling, please like, share, and subscribe for more explorations into the lives of history's most fascinating figures.